back to the latest episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, podcast home of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. New episodes every Wednesday, anywhere that you can get your podcasts. I'm your host, Noah Tucker. The man next to me here is your co-host, Byron Chive. How we doing, boss?
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing well. For anybody that doesn't know, I do not have the nickname for Byron, boss. Byron is actually my boss. He's the executive director here at the Hall of Fame. I overtake some of our digital content, like our podcast that we have going. How was the weekend? How was your weekend here?
It was good. Spent the day Saturday sitting out in the blazing hot sun at
That's right.
9U baseball
Yeah.
game. So that seems to be get to do it again this Saturday. Of course, I guess we got some 100 or triple digit temperatures coming this week. So hopefully it cools off by Saturday. But basically that's how we spent Saturday.
Yeah, that's a grind. I've been through that life. It's every
Yeah.
weekend in the heat.
My favorite is when they schedule you in the morning and then mid-afternoon and then early evening, so you're there.
You're just sitting at the ballpark.
You're not playing three
Yeah.
and getting home. You're there. So
Yeah, that'd be too easy. It'd make too much sense.
I've had a lot of people though in the last few days just talking about what we did and everything, saying don't wish it away. There's going to come a time very soon when there won't be any tournaments to go to, and so certainly trying to enjoy it. Sometimes when you're sitting there, waiting in between games, it's hard to get the big picture view, but certainly appreciate the time we get to watch my son play baseball.
No doubt. I can attest to it. I lived the life of going on the travel ball grind, and once it's over, it's over. You might as well enjoy it. But you're right. In the moment, it's hard to see the full picture.
Perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Your weekend was probably better than mine. We won't get into it.
Yes,
I'm still on the recovery. Yes. We'll just leave it at maybe a little food poisoning. Hopefully though, we get back to full speed because as we've mentioned, there's no slowing down.
There is no rest for the weary at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and we are definitely full speed into the Price Cutter Charity Championship. That is our Corn Ferry Tour event that we host annually. Basically the minor leagues for the PGA. A lot of good golfers that come into the Springfield area. I understand we had some ticket prep going on yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday was ticket packing day. That's kind of an annual tradition here where obviously we have so many sponsors that we appreciate every sponsorship, whether it's large or small and everything in between. But we have a sponsors reception that we hosted last evening at Big Shots Golf, and had a great time at that. It's a chance for us to kind of get our sponsors out and tell them thank you for their support. And we had ticket packing day the last couple days where we were basically putting all the tickets into packages for these sponsors, and it's a chance to kind of get everything distributed in a timely manner, and so that's kind of an annual tradition here.
Certainly, yeah. I wish I could have been here for more of the ticket packing. Of course, I thought the reception went great though. It was a fun time and definitely good to kind of put names to faces in some sense for some of the folks that most people have kind of sort of like a liaison that comes to a lot of our meetings and whatnot. And now we get to see a lot more of the other people that, we hear about or talk to over the phone and whatnot. But yeah, the Price Cutter is definitely our 100% focus right now. And it takes that. It definitely does with everything that goes into it. But I think as much as we love the Price Cutter, as much as we appreciate what it stands for, the benefits that it provides to local charities, I think during this time we kind of miss just what we do with the Hall of Fame. That's kind of that's our MO. That's what we're here for. It's definitely something that we love. And one thing that I always like to talk about with you, and you have a lot of good background with it, is just the induction process. Yeah. Whenever we induct people into the Hall of Fame, I think it's really cool. It's very personable. But what is it for you? What is it that stands out whenever we're inducting people?
It's certainly one of the cool parts of the job. Obviously, there's lots as a sports fan. Most of this job is pretty cool for a sports fan. The induction process, essentially, we get nominations. There's probably hundreds of nominations that come in every year from all across the state and even beyond our state's borders, people nominating people from Missouri. And so there's a special nominating committee that all these nominations go to, that they will kind of vet these nominations and send them on to a selection committee. The selection committee then vets further and basically comes up with a list of inductees for whatever event that it is that we're inducting at. I then get the list of inductees, and I get the honor and privilege of actually making the phone call to let them know that they're being inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, and that's a really cool thing to do. And it's not just the the sports stars that everyone knows, but even the high school coaches and others that maybe their time in the sun, so to speak, was years and years ago, but now they're being recognized. And so it's just all different ends of the spectrum in terms of response, and that you get people that cry, you get people that that not too long ago, I won't say who it was, I don't want to call anybody out, but I mean, there was a few words dropped, just in the heat of the moment, some, I can't, just some bombs, say that, so to speak, but just the raw, just you're getting the real time response to, hey, you're going into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. And for even a lot of the professional athletes that we induct, this may be the only Hall of Fame in terms of they're not going into their, baseball Hall of Fame, or they're not going to Canton, so to speak, but this may be the pinnacle of their career. And so it's a really cool phone call. I'm kind of the first person that gets to speak to them. And then, of course, once we get into the process, our staff members are assigned different inductees to work with, and they get to then go and meet with them personally. And it's not uncommon when we get to the actual induction and they're giving their speech that we kind of have a running, it's not a joke, but we always keep track of how many shout outs that we get, whether, there'll be some that'll say, hey, when Byron called or whatever, but if the salesperson gets a shout out, that's always a cool thing to
make a tally. Yeah.
So
one thing I really enjoy that I've been able to be a part of in the induction process too, on the digital content side, is during an induction ceremony or whatever event it is where somebody's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, we kind of introduce the person, say a few things about their career, and then we play a video.
Yeah.
And this video is comprised of basically highlights of this individual's career, whether it be a coach or a player, etc. And there's, former colleagues, assistant coaches, former players, whatever it may be, that talk about, this person and their career and what stood out to them. And just being able to talk with those people, I think, is so interesting. Yeah. A lot of times people don't want to talk about the stats, right? Or oh, they were such a good pitcher and they had this great pitch. And they really just want to talk about who this person was to them and their friendship and what that meant to them. And sometimes I think it's really cool when you're like, man, we're inducting, not only a Hall of Fame football player or whatever it may be, but also like a Hall of Fame person,
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. That's kind of one of my favorite parts. But yeah, I enjoy being able to kind of get to know these people in a sense as they go through the induction process, and to see them kind of get that recognition, like you mentioned, for some, it may be the last time they get that.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see how appreciative they are as they go through the process.
And the videos, I'm glad you brought those up. That's kind of one of the things the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame has become known for, is those videos. Coleman Swartz, who actually was a former staff member here at the Hall of Fame and now lives in Texas, but he still does these videos for us, does an excellent job putting these together. But one of the when the salesperson here on our staff meets with the inductee, that's one of the first questions, or during that initial meeting, is we need some names, 2 or 3 names of people that you would like on your video. And these inductees, the first time they see the video was when they're standing on stage before they give their acceptance speech. So it's not uncommon to have an inductee that's kind of, they're watching the video for the first time and hearing these great things being said about them. They have not seen or heard this yet. And so a lot of times it kind of throws them off a little bit because they're just, taken aback by the emotion.
Well, it's like it's already a day full of emotion for a lot of people whenever they're getting inducted, and there's so many people there to see them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get people on the video who maybe live across the country and can't make it or whatever. And yeah, it can be a very emotional response for the inductee the first time they see that video. It's really honestly one of my favorite parts, because sometimes as our social media guy, I'll be down below, kind of below the stage, maybe getting some video or something, and I can get some really pure emotion as that individual is watching the video play before their speech, and then they kind of have to collect themselves because they're like, oh, there's a lot of things I want to make sure I say and people I want to thank. And so it's, it's cool. It's very raw. It's very real.
Most of them, I'm sure, have rehearsed their speech, hundreds of times in front of the mirror, and now we've thrown this curveball at them right before they're about to give the speech. So it certainly kind of gets things off. But the cool thing about the videos as well is it used to be that the only time we would see those is at the induction. Of course, we'll send them to the inductee and they've got them to have. But now we've got an actual kiosk here at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Now, obviously, we're closed and we'll show it off in the future. But it's actually really neat where you can search, inductees and actually watch their video play here at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. You can see it, read about them, see their photos and stuff. So that's kind of a neat place that we've got these preserved, that they're not just being shown once, but the other visitors to the Hall of Fame here in the future can actually see those.
Yeah, excited for that as well. There's been a lot of work that's gone into that, but so cool just to be able to come in, because there's probably a lot of people that visit the Hall of Fame. Obviously, like
Sure.
we've mentioned many times, renovations right now, but there's a lot of people that visit the Hall of Fame and they're like, hey, I know this one person is in. And now they have a place where they don't have
Let's
to go
go
search for it
yeah.
necessarily. It's all in one location where they can click, find this person. There they are. Boom. Oh, look at this. Here's their induction video. It's definitely a cool piece of what we're doing with the renovation process.
And just keeping with the induction talk, I guess, we're looking ahead to the future. We're actually, it seems weird to be talking about 2024. We're not even to July yet, but we will meet actually in August to start planning for 2024. And as far as inductions go, we are planning on having our annual induction here in Springfield in February. And at some point, and we'll look at the calendar and find out when best to do so, but we'll go back to Kansas City again. We're going to be in St. Louis this November for an enshrinement right before Thanksgiving. And we'll go back to St. Louis in 24. And then we'll probably look at adding a fourth induction ceremony, perhaps in mid-Missouri, Columbia area. And then maybe even a regional luncheon somewhere that we don't get to across the state. There's just a lot of deserving individuals. We know this from the nominating committee. We know this from the selection committee, that there are some deserving individuals across the state of Missouri that maybe they can't make their way to Springfield, and maybe it's better to induct them closer to where they live. And so we're going to try and, I guess the best way to put it, take the show on the road, take the Hall of Fame. We're going to try and become the state's sports Hall of Fame and go to all corners of the state and induct deserving individuals, teams, and look forward to doing that.
Yeah, and I love that that's our mission right there. Obviously, you talk about the Springfield enshrinement. That's kind of like our Super Bowl. That was the original, I
Sure.
guess. But we're definitely making that conscious effort to be that statewide Hall of Fame that has a statewide footprint. Is kind of the PR that I always go back to. But it's exciting. It's one of the things that we really enjoy is that induction process, and it's always good to see those people get honored, whether it's the last Hall of Fame that they go into or it's not.
Correct.
So
Yep.
But moving on anyway, in sports news, there's been a lot going on, a lot of fun, exciting things. College World Series. All right. I'm curious. Yeah. That's what just happened here the night before last. They wrapped that up. I'm curious. Did you watch?
First of all, congratulations to the SEC. You get
Well,
two teams in
dominant.
the finals, but that's not totally surprising. But I going into, I didn't watch college baseball throughout the year. I wasn't I'm knowledgeable. I was new enough to know that these two teams were good all year, and so going into it, I knew that the LSU had I don't know how to pronounce his name, Paul Skenes or Skeens. He's absolute stud on the mound.
Yeah.
So you got to figure LSU is already a game up going into it, but you never, obviously that's why they play the games. But LSU wins the first one, but then the second game is like a rout, just an unbelievable
wind was blowing out.
Yeah,
there was a lot of offense.
show. But then last night you come back for essentially the national championship game. Winner take all in Game 3, and it's Florida gets out to a 2-0 lead, and you're like, okay, here we go. And then all of a sudden, LSU just erupts, and it's pretty well over. It's just anticlimactic by the time you get to midway through the game at that point. So
yeah, I fell asleep actually. I was probably watching through like the 6th inning, and I was like, this is not a game. I was really surprised by the amount of runs scored, because whenever they used to play at Old Rosenblatt Stadium, that was like normal. There were a lot of home runs. The ball was flying everywhere. But this new Charles Schwab, I think is what there's not a lot of offense, but that was not the case for the championship series.
But one of the best things, one of my favorite things about college baseball is the ping, ping every time they hit the.
Whenever they went to the new BB core bat for a while too, that kind of went away. A lot of the bats were kind of quiet. It almost sounded like wood, where it was deadening the ball. But I think since they've kind of gotten used to the technology of the BB core, it's like, and you watch like an MLB game, and those guys are great, but they're using wood bats, deadened balls. Sometimes, like, you could hit a hard ball that doesn't even go 100 miles per hour.
Absolutely.
In college, it's like 105, 106, 110. Like, they just absolutely smoke balls. It's the epitome of just pure baseball showcased by guys who are probably too good to be using those kind of bats.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially coming off. And then you got like Florida. I mean, they're just hitting bombs left and right. But I think as a team, they're batting like 213 or something for the series. So it was kind of like they're either hitting the long ball or not. But it was the College World Series is certainly on my bucket list. I've never even been to the state of Nebraska actually. But I was telling someone the other day that that would be one reason that I would have to go to Nebraska would be to go to Omaha to the College World Series. But I do like the fact that the World Series is in the same place every year. That your goal every year in college baseball is to get to Omaha. So
it's kind of funny. We were talking about travel baseball earlier. Travel baseball is the reason I actually have been to Omaha.
Okay.
Played in a tournament that was like in conjunction with the College World Series, and went and saw the old stadium. I think it was the first or second year actually that they'd moved over to the new one, and watched a few games there. I think it was the year that like Stony Brook was like the Cinderella story.
Yes.
It's been a while, not to like age myself there, but it was definitely cool. It's something you got to see. I would definitely say it's on the bucket list, but
I would certainly like to attend a game there at some point. But yeah.
So I'm curious, talking about the College World Series, I think it brings up the question, something you and I were discussing the other day, is what is like your favorite summer sporting event? I mean, you have the U.S. Open, you have Wimbledon. Somebody might say, I don't think either of us, but somebody might say Tour de France maybe. But what stands out to you? What is like? I don't think there's a wrong answer.
No, I mean
maybe if you say like the NBA like draft, maybe like I'd be like what? No, but
I can tell you. I mean, if it's summer sports, then it's probably going to be the golf majors, the U.S. Open, the Open. I think that I believe the PGA Championship. I'm not sure if it qualifies as summer. I think they're playing it in May now, but probably the golf majors is what I would probably lean toward being most interested in. I do like the College World Series. I don't watch every single game, but I do get interested in it. The Little League World Series.
Little League World Series.
Williamsport or bust, but I'm not into the NBA. I mean, the playoffs, NBA playoffs take like 3.5 months to complete. That's just too long. So I don't get into that.
Yeah, a lot of travel.
Not into, I don't watch hockey, so I'm not really into the Stanley Cup Finals. But although I would probably be more likely to watch the Stanley Cup Finals than the NBA Finals, if I'm being honest.
One thing I was thinking about, if you're talking about your favorite summertime sport, you mentioned the NBA, the Stanley Cup Finals. I think it's got to be something summer related.
Yeah.
Love College World Series. Love Little League World Series. By the way, we just inducted some Little League World Series teams. Right. Shout out Webb City.
Webb City, 2 of 3 from Missouri to make it to Williamsport.
Yeah, and got a sportsmanship award, the 2015 squad even too. I was thinking of one though, and this is a weird one, but again, it has to go in line with summer for me. Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Okay, I didn't realize that you were going for Is
that's a sporting event, right?
I mean, I like to eat, so yeah, we'll call it a sport. I'm practicing for the big game, I guess.
But you talk about like pure summertime.
That's impressive what they do. Now I don't know how anyone's dipping a hot dog in water and eating it, but they're throwing 70 of these down in 5 minutes or whatever it is. But and then is it Joey Chestnut? Chestnut is does not look like a professional eater because he's not a big guy at all. But
the goat.
He's absolutely.
Yeah.
He's hammering them away, and that's the first time I had ever heard of Nathan's hot dog. Was the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and it's one of my favorite hot dogs.
I think it's
really good.
Yeah,
it's absolutely good. So congrats to them on the marketing. But
it's good.
I'm not eating 70 of them in 5 minutes. But.
I like MLB All-Star Weekend though too. The Home Run Derby is always really cool. That's the summer classic, and I like what they've done with it where the winner of that game, actually there is something that comes of it where whatever, if the AL wins it, I think they get home field advantage in the World Series, right? So I think that's really cool too, but I say if you're having that discussion, like with the major championships or whatever it may be, it's got to be something that is sports or summer related. Sure. Somebody was like, well, my favorite summer event is the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm like, they play it on ice. How's that summertime? Hey, it's great.
It finishes in the summer.
It is exciting, but yeah, you're right.
You mentioned the Home Run Derby. I'm old enough to remember a show that came on. It seems like on Saturdays, and it was like home run. I think it may have even been called Home Run Derby, and these may have been reruns, but it was the Stars of the Day. It was a black and white show, so I think I mean I'm not that old,
So
but
it's before me though.
well, I think it's before me too. I think it was reruns, but it would have like Mickey Mantle and the big name stars and Stan Musial and Ted Williams and these other big name Major League Baseball players. They would basically have home run derby. It would just be them two and an announcer, and they would hit home runs, and whoever had the most was the winner of that particular episode. But and it may be a little bit more detailed than that, but I can remember that being like a Saturday thing that they would play on ABC or something.
Very cool. I just watched cartoons on Saturday
well,
mornings.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's all I watch. I mean, but cartoons have changed as well. It used to be that Looney Tunes and all of that every Saturday, and now it's stuff I don't even recognize. So
yeah, I don't know what I don't have young kids. I know they watch the Cocomelon and
I've never
different
no idea what
like
you just said. So.
Well, hey, in other news, some Missouri sports news actually. NBA draft night this past week. Mizzou had their first NBA draft guy taken since Michael Porter Jr. 2018, 2018.
NBA champion Michael
yeah,
Porter Jr.
newly crowned.
Nuggets,
That's correct. Yeah, he is Missouri guy through and through. Didn't end up finishing high school though, I don't think, in Missouri. He went to a private school in Seattle, maybe if I remember, but came back to.
He did
Mizzou.
play at Mizzou, or at least was
Mizzou.
on Mizzou's team. I think he played 2 minutes in the opener and got hurt. Unfortunately, that was a blow to Mizzou's hopes that year. There was a lot
and
of
ticket sales.
Yes,
probably.
there was a lot of excitement about that season and the very, very first game. But
so I'm curious with that, the one and done is kind of a thing of the past. But do you consider Michael Porter Jr. a one and done then essentially, or like a Kyrie Irving, a guy that gets hurt and doesn't even really play in college?
I mean, he certainly has ties to Mizzou. I mean, he obviously led Tolton Catholic to a state championship all in Columbia. Came back to Mizzou. The Porter family is synonymous with Mizzou. His sister John Tay's brother played there. I mean, the Porter family in Columbia is just synonymous. So I would certainly consider him a Mizzou product, a Missouri product, and congrats to him on winning the NBA championship and now Kobe Brown.
Mizzou, first round, 30th
last pick of the first round. So that's going into the season. I saw a quote somewhere that I think Coach Gates, Dennis Gates, told him that he was going to be a first round pick, and here we go.
That's cool. The Clippers, pick. I'm sure they'll find a way to fit him into their system. I don't know his game that well. I don't remember watching a lot of Mizzou basketball this past season.
He was obviously it was Dennis Gates' first year at Mizzou, and obviously that turned out exceptional.
Very excited for that.
Every aspect of that, and I remember meeting Coach Gates shortly. It was probably less than 2 weeks on the job. We met him. We host the Hall of Fame with the Missouri Basketball Coaches Association. Hosts a breakfast at the Final Four every year. And so in 2021, I guess it was, or 22, his first year, he'd just been hired. And he came to the breakfast, and we got a chance to meet with him. Just blown away. The guy is as impressive as can be. He gets it. He understands what the job is. And I knew then that he was going to have success. I didn't realize it would be immediate. But even talking with some of his assistants that were there, they said Coach Gates is going to get his guys, and they may not have the stars next to their name, but they're going to be his guys, and we're going to win. And so I was like, okay. And then that's exactly what happened. They brought these guys in, some that had played for him at Cleveland State. But getting back to Kobe Brown, he was the big returnee for Mizzou, and so he was kind of the leader of this. I don't mean this in any way, but this ragtag group of transfers and
it's a first year coach.
Yeah, and so they blended together, and Kobe Brown was kind of the engine that drove the train, so to speak. I mean, he was the leader on the court, off the court, just hitting big shots. I remember going and seeing Mizzou play Kentucky right after Christmas, and it was first of all, being in Mizzou Arena and seeing it packed and loud was awesome. I know a lot of older fans can remember back in the Hearn Center days, when Norm Stewart's heyday, and had big games in there. But that was impressive. I mean, of course, they knocked the socks off Kentucky that night and just pretty well dominated from start to finish. And but Kobe Brown was a absolute stud that night and throughout the year, and and certainly there was some speculation there at the end that he might return to school, but he bet on himself and was rewarded with a first round draft selection. So
Awesome.
congrats to Kobe Brown.
Yeah, wish him the best. We'll definitely anytime you've got scenarios like that, we're keeping an eye out. We're taking tabs. Those are one of those type of guys where the nominations will come, but they probably don't even need to come. I mean, but either way, we keep an eye out. We like to root for those guys. Here's an interesting thing that you need to know about Byron and I. Is even though we work for the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, we cover Missouri sports very closely and keep an eye on it, is we're actually fans of different state colleges in different ways. I've got some family ties down in Oklahoma, and so I'm an Oklahoma fan whenever it comes to college sports, and you've kind of got a few different.
I've got a very eclectic group of favorites, but I will say that I've been diehard fans of these teams my entire life, so I'm not fair weather, I'm not bandwagon. It's just have grown up rooting for Florida State football. When I was 7 years old, my family went to Florida for our first ever vacation, and while we were there, my parents bought me it was an adult half shirt, but on a 7-year-old boy, it came down to my knees, and it said FSU football, and it had a picture of Florida State's helmet on it. And so from that day, I wore that shirt every day for the next 10 years, it seemed like, but that was my favorite shirt, and I became a Florida State fan that day and have been to this day. And then I think I mentioned maybe at some point, but my parents are both from the same small Kentucky town, and so I grew up in Indianapolis in the middle of Bob Knight country, and so he had won like 3 national championships during my childhood and was like a king in the state of Indiana. And of course, basketball in the state of Indiana is huge anyway, but here I grew up a Kentucky fan in the middle of all these Hoosiers, and so but I've been a Kentucky fan. So I was I mentioned the Mizzou Kentucky game. Congrats to Dennis Gates and the Tigers. They dominated Kentucky that night. It was impressive. But I've got my teams. I grew up on my Pee Wee baseball team went undefeated. We were the Angels. So I grew up an Angels fan. I have kind of shifted that allegiance a little bit to the Cardinals. But,
Anyway. This is thick Cardinals country.
It's very red.
Oh yeah.
Even Royals fans are the minority down here in Southwest Missouri area, but
still prevalent, but it's just hard to compete. Absolutely. It's always been Cardinals.
I'm not. I certainly don't root against the Royals. I thought it was very exciting back in 14-15 when they went on their back-to-back World Series appearances and of course won the World Series. That was a exciting time. We got to induct Lorenzo Cain in Kansas City earlier this year.
Great guy.
It was great reliving those memories.
Yeah,
so.
Great guy, family guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if we didn't really hit on this topic. We hinted at it. But tell me, what are you taking? Maybe we'll discuss this further in another episode. Are you going with professional sports or college sports?
If I had to pick college, because I love college basketball and I love college football, I think I've mentioned already, I'm not a big NBA basketball fan. I know what's going on, but I don't follow it. We've got some interns here at the Hall of Fame this summer, and that's their big NBA, and they're talking all of the, LeBron this and, all these others.
Michael Jordan.
Yes. Yeah. And, but I don't know. I love college basketball. I love college football. The Saturday in the fall is one of the greatest days, when you wake up and you got that crisp fall air and the leaves are turning and the sun's, it's just incredible.
You're giving me chills.
Yes,
you're giving me chills.
That's one of my favorite times of the year. But I also watch NFL football, but I think, and I say in its purest form, obviously there's a lot wrong with college sports, but college football and college basketball are my favorite if I had to choose.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Right there with you. And people used to always say kind of like the amateurism, whatever. That I don't know if that's really a discussion anymore.
It's not.
It's just the atmosphere, really, for me, that I really love about college sports.
It's weird, but even like you don't at the NFL games, like the bands at the college football games that are playing in between plays. I mentioned I'm a Florida State fan, and they've got the tomahawk chop rolling in between. The Chiefs fans know what I'm talking about because they play the same music. But the tomahawk chop, playing at times, and even in basketball arenas, it's just different. It just the atmosphere is the key.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll hit on it a little bit more at another time. But you've got 2 votes right here for college sports.
Absolutely.
So either way, we appreciate you guys listening. Another episode of Where the Game Lives On. Like I mentioned early in the show, these will come out every Wednesday. Be sure to follow along. on our social media to stay up to date with any new things we've got going. We'll keep you up to date there, and you can find our podcasts anywhere you typically listen to them, mostly on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So we appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next time on Where the Game Lives On.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.